around the nation. TYD Nation, Jeff Walder here with you. Welcome to the show. Got a good show for you guys on this Tuesday. We have, of course, another interesting admission from a Republican senator on impeachment. Fun times. We also have Ivanka Trump going after the elitists. No, that's the best part. That's really the best. That's my favorite story of the day. Putting elitists in their place. Fun times. Then we have. Look, I don't even know how to get this. Trump supporters are now encouraging other Trump supporters to drink bleach. I'm not kidding. That's an amazing / horrible story. So we're going to talk about that. Then we've got Fox News finally turning on John Bolton. So that's an interesting story. And then we've got, of course, AOC fighting for regular people. So that's a good story here as well, especially for those who have literally no power. And so, look, I got a great show for you guys today. So please like and share the stream if you haven't already. So as of late, haven't had a like YouTube is suppressing views for non-authoritative channels. So that's why it's really important to share because we're not going to get recommendations from the algorithm. The recommendations are going to have to come from you guys. So again, across every medium that you can, please remember to share the stream. Remember to share the clips. So very important. Okay. Anyway, so there's that. Let's see. I don't really have any other type of news. It's going to be like a normal week, so we should really kind of dive into our show. Before we do that, I'm going to remind everybody, super chats, Q bounties. I might answer one of those later. For sure, super chats will be read first, and then we'll go with member comments and other comments as well. And that's how I can interact with the show, or how you can interact with the show, how I can interact with you guys, because that's what I love to do. And, you know, if there are any awesome comments that I see during the stream, during the segment, I should say, I'm more than happy to read them. So, all right, anyway. I like that. Give the like button a consensual cuddle. See, that's positive right there. That is wholesome. So thank you guys. All right. Anyway. Oh yeah, there is of course more polling that says that shows that Bernie Sanders is continuing his gigantic lead in Iowa. So that's kind of awesome. Super awesome actually. And so the Iowa caucuses, man, they're pretty close. Everybody get ready. It's almost game time. If there's a win in Iowa and New Hampshire, and then Nevada, and then California, well, that's going to be amazing. Now, South Carolina, Bernie Sanders is not doing well there. He's in second place. He's got like half of what Joe Biden has. Tom Steyer, talking to some people on the ground that I know there, Tom Steyer has made a huge investment there. It's pretty much the only place that he's spent money in is South Carolina. So that's how you know Tom Steyer is not really like he's not in it to win it. He's basically going to win, you know, or try to win South Carolina. Probably going to fail. It'll be Joe Biden, but he spent a ton of money there, and then Tom Steyer's going to drop out. That's my guess. That's my little bit of prognostication on that. But yeah, we'll see for sure. But it's getting closer, man. Here we go. It's crunch time. Okay. Anyway, let's go into the first story here. Speaking of Iowa. Okay. All right. A Republican senator has come clean about their plan to deal with the overwhelming evidence against Donald Trump and his efforts to pressure a foreign government into interfering with American elections. Their game plan essentially is to both ignore the actual evidence and then go to Joe Biden, attack Joe Biden, all in an effort, as you're going to see here, to score political points before the Iowa caucuses. In fact, Joni Ernst has the rest. Take a look.
Iowa caucuses, folks. Iowa caucuses are this next Monday evening. And I'm really interested to see how this discussion today informs and influences the Iowa caucus voters, those Democratic caucus goers. Will they be supporting Vice President Biden at this point?
Look, when you look at the polls, Biden's in second when it comes to the Iowa caucus. You have Bernie Sanders having a pretty good lead. So I don't know if they're going to support Joe Biden. The polls say, I don't know. But what does any of that have to do with Donald Trump's impeachment? Well, the Trump defense team just spent the last couple of days just attacking Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. And that's it, really. Look, Joni Ernst has basically just admitted, hey, man, I hope all these attacks against Joe Biden make it so that he loses Iowa caucus. Now, look, I want Joe Biden to lose the Iowa caucus. I want Bernie Sanders to win. But that's because I think Bernie Sanders has a better chance against Donald Trump. In fact, we have tape of Donald Trump back in 2018 talking about how Bernie Sanders be really tough to beat and was really, he thought was really tough to beat or would have been back in 2016. So the last thing they want is somebody like Bernie Sanders winning the nomination and going up against Donald Trump. So it is kind of interesting. But no, what they want and what they're talking about is they're basically saying, we used our time in the impeachment instead of defending Donald Trump from the basically indefensible charges, which I guess they can't really defend Donald Trump on that. So we're just going to use it as a political ploy to attack Joe Biden. That's it. Again, I've got no love for nothing will fundamentally change ever Biden. But come on, she basically said, I wonder how our performance will affect the voters. Well, you know what that means? It's a goddamn show for them. It's literally performance art. They don't care at all about real corruption. And which, by the way, what Hunter Biden did was actual corruption. But here's the thing. Unfortunately, it's only of the personal, legal kind. Now, what's illegal is what Donald Trump had done. He had violated the Impeachment Control Act, as well as openly called and pressured a foreign government to interfere in U.S. elections that is completely illegal. So you can't actually do that, right? But here's the thing. Republicans don't care. They don't give a crap. They literally sit on a throne of corruption. At least Donald Trump does. It may be a golden throne of corruption. Or that might be a toilet. I don't know. Either way, that's where he tweets from. Look, he's the most corrupt president in the history of corrupt presidents. And believe me, we've had a lot of corrupt presidents. And so that's the problem here. And look, this has nothing to do with fighting the so-called swamp. And everybody knows it. Now, there are people that weighed in. This is MSNBC correspondent Garrett Hawk that tweeted this. This is saying the quiet part out loud. They seem to have a history of that. So now either they're really stupid, in which Joni Ernst possibly could be a really dumb person. I don't know for sure. Or it's gotten to the point where no matter what, they don't care about the truth. And so, yes, they say the quiet part loud because who's going to stop them? They have they have control of the Senate. There are, yes, some supposedly squishy senators, Mitt Romney and Lisa Murkowski, some of the others, right? The so-called moderates. They're saying, oh, well, we might call witnesses. Yeah, but even if you do, well, then how's that going to change your vote? It's not going to change your vote. Mitt Romney has shown that he will always vote in favor of Donald Trump. he supports his policy goals. You think they're going to remove a sitting president because of so-called lack of civility? No, of course not. Suzanne Collins, same question, right? No, the only thing that these Republicans care about are their jobs and their access to power. And right now, so long as Donald Trump continues to afford them votes and access to power, they're not going to do a damn thing. They're not going to remove him. I mean, it's comical to think that that impeachment is going to end in any way other than an acquittal for Donald Trump. And so that's the thing, right? And look, I've known this and I've talked about this going into impeachment day one. It's not about acquittal, or it's not about removing the president, because we know he's going to get acquitted. It's about sticking the Republican Party with having to defend Donald Trump's criminal actions, which might have an impact on the votes, on the, maybe not the Iowa caucus, but on the general election votes. And so that's what's important. You do that, you get Republicans on the record of defending this crap, and then you go and you create vicious attack ads. And I know Democrats seem to be unable to do vicious attacks against Democrats are unable to do vicious attacks against Republicans, but they are more than happy to do vicious attacks against progressives. And that's what's going on here. That's what'll happen, of course, during the primary. It seems like Democrats love to play patty cakes, but when it comes to Republicans, again, they go hard against each other. Now, here's the thing. A couple more quotes here. All right. Kaylee Joy Gray, executive editor of the American Independent, said this, quote, "Here's Joni Ernst screaming the quiet part into a bullhorn." Senator John Barrasso also said this: "I was watching Warren and Bernie Sanders and Michael Bennet and Amy Klobuchar, and they were really eyes wide open during that part of it," referring to Trump attorney Pam Bondi's presentation, which focused heavily on Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. Senator Chris Murphy said as he watched Bondi and other Trump lawyers spend most of the day going after the Bidens, as expected, it became crystal clear Trump was trying to use the trial to do what Ukraine wouldn't, destroy his political rivals. Well, again, nobody expected anything otherwise, because that's what happens when you don't have a real defense. You think they're going to talk about John Bolton? No, absolutely not. They're talking about, or even incorporate any of the evidence of Donald Trump literally pressuring a foreign government to interfere in our elections. No, of course they're not going to bring that up, because they don't care about that. All they care about is their own power. And Joe Biden, by the way, makes a fantastic, punching bag or voodoo, whatever you want to call it, right? Piñata for these Republicans that literally have no defense. Okay. Anyway, so let's go to something different. I saw the impeachment stuff I have today. Ivanka Trump wants you to know that she is really mad at the elitists over in Washington. Now, she posted a tweet in response to a segment that has gone viral. And I want to show you that segment first, and then we'll get into her tweet and the hilarious responses. Stay right here. Watch.
He also knows deep in his heart that Donald Trump couldn't find Ukraine on a map if you had the letter U and a picture of an actual physical crane next to it. He knows that this is, an administration defined by ignorance of the world. And so that's partly him playing to their base and playing to their audience, the credulous boomer Rube demo that backs Donald Trump, that wants to think that Donald Trump's a smart one and y'all elitists are dumb.
You elitists with your geography and your maps, and your spelling, even though my
your math and your reading.
Yeah, you're reading, you know, your geography, knowing other countries, sipping your latte.
All those lines on the map.
Only them elitists know where Ukraine is. Sorry, I apologize. But by the way,
Oh my God.
but you know what? But it was Rick's fault. I blame Rick.
All right, look, that is kind of funny, especially the joke about the U and the crane. Okay, that was good. But here's the thing, right? So Rick Wilson, I got no love for Rick Wilson. Why? He's a Republican strategist, and this guy is one of the worst people, right? That supposedly is now in resistance Twitter, right? Part of the resistance. In reality, he resists progressives, and he resists, progressive priorities. But nonetheless, well, he's anti-Trump, so of course he gets to sit next to Don Lemon. So his job was literally to appeal to the people that he just made fun of. In reality, this is actually what Republicans think about their base, right? When he's talking down to the Trump people, he's talking down to people that he had tried to appeal to. So straight up, right? Oh, these guys are idiots. Definitely some of them are. And look, there's a difference here between just ignorance, right? Where there's like normal ignorance, like, yeah, I don't know where Ukraine is. I don't know where who the leader of Uzbekistan is, right? But look, if you're somebody who's in power, if you're Mike Pompeo, well, then of course you should know where Ukraine is on the map. You should be able to point it out. If you're Donald Trump, you should be able to point that out. Donald Trump is an idiot. And as I've said it before, he's the Fox News president. He has no intellectual curiosity. So I will make fun of people who have no intellectual curiosity, who are, like ignorant by choice. That said, am I going to call old Trump supporters ignorant by choice? Not necessarily. I mean, I have made fun of them before. That is true. And look, sometimes I got to take a step back and be like, look, is that something are they all completely ignorant? Are they all, terrible people like that? I don't know. Not necessarily. And so it kind of makes me think like there is a section of Republicans along with, progressives that really are sick of the elites, right? Now, these guys in this segment, they are elites. Nobody on that panel, I don't know about Wajahat Ali, right? I don't know personally, but I certainly know that Rick Wilson and Don Lemon, those guys are part of the elite. They're worth millions of dollars. Don Lemon gets paid millions of dollars a year to be there, right? So it's interesting that they're having a conversation about this and basically looking down on voters, right? So that kind of, look, that's a problem with me, right? So now, as far as the voters, it is a shame that they don't see that Donald Trump is also a member of the elite. He's an elitist prick, which leads me to, of course, to Ivanka. Now, Ivanka says you consistently make fun of half the country and then complain that it's divided. The arrogance, mocking accents, and smug ridicule of this nation's real elites is disgusting. All right, so now, first of all, it's not actually half the country. So you look at the votes, right? It's actually roughly a third of all adults in the voting base, right? So I say around a third, roughly maybe half of that voted for Donald Trump. And why? It's because voter turnout in this country is depressingly low among the eligible voting population. So yeah, she's wrong, right? But anyway, on that, she's basically saying, well, look at these smug elites. Well, now wait a minute. Ivanka Trump, you were literally sitting in an ivory tower yourself. You are the elite. To think that Ivanka or any of the Trumps know what it's like to be a regular working person in this country and can identify with us? No, that's comical. Absolutely comical. And so why would she at all speak up, right? It's ridiculous. That's why, of course, she got savaged on Twitter. In fact, let me show you some tweets here because these are good. Here's the thing. On this show, I like to punch up at the elites instead of punch down at the voters, which is what Rick Wilson and Don Lemon and Wajahat Ali were actually doing on that show. So, like, I'm not in favor of that, but I'm definitely in favor of this. Kel says, please sit this one out. Nepotism Barbie. The roast that awaits you will not be pleasant. It is true. It was not pleasant. Benjamin Dreyer says, I didn't even know you could get a degree in complete cluelessness and lack of self-awareness. Well, for some people, like Ivanka Trump, it's a natural skill. Maybe you're born with it. Maybe you're a Trump. Rocky Mountain View says, the evening gown and shoes you wear to a single party in D.C. cost more than what most Trump supporters earn in a year. Maybe some introspection would do you some good. No, I totally agree with that. Again, she is part of the elite. Lisa says, are you, Ivanka, calling other people elites? How much money did you and Jared grift this year? How many staffers in your household? How often do you do your grocery shopping? Those, again, are super good questions. Look, we know, and he said this in basically a campaign rally, that he thinks you need an ID to buy groceries. No, you don't. You don't need an ID to buy groceries. That's ridiculous. But Donald Trump's never been food shopping for himself at all. He's utterly clueless about this whole thing. Barry Williams adds, real elites is typed by a woman who got into college as a legacy, got hooked up with modeling jobs due to calling in favors, married to a guy whose felonious dad, had to buy a building to get him into college of his choice because, like Donald Trump, he was too stupid, and was handed a job by her dad. Oh. Look, none of that's untrue. Again, Donald Trump only made it into Wharton because of a sympathetic admissions officer to his brother. His brother was an alumnist, and so that's how Donald Trump got into college. And while he was there, one of his instructors called him the dumbest person to have ever been in his class. Not a smart person, and totally ignorant by choice. And that's what this is. So now, as fun as this is, again, you got to remember that Don Lemon, Rick Wilson, and Ivanka Trump, they are all members of the elite. They all make millions of dollars and don't actually understand or represent regular people. They do not live like us. So you have to remember that. Okay? And as fun as it is to laugh at, some of the people who are poorly educated, as Donald Trump says, and by the way, he loves the poorly educated because they're easier to, bamboozle, to get you to vote for a con man. Look, it's a great example of elite on elite crime. That's what this segment is, right? Now, that's always fun to see. I always like it when, members of the media, the wealthy, tend to fight each other, because that means that they're not actually fighting us. But in the end of this, none of this helps the American people. None of this helps struggling Americans, and none of this brings people over to your side. I mean, you want to make fun of idiotic Trump supporters. Again, look, I'll be honest, I have, but I'm beginning to not be proud of that. It's kind of like, it kind of makes me feel bad. Like, we should not be, as progressives, punching down. We should be punching up. It's supposed to be the 99% versus the 1%. Now, again, if you are willfully ignorant and you want to sit there and believe that, oh, no, despite all the evidence, climate change is not happening and it's just a plot to get me to pay more taxes, it's ridiculous. You're going to ignore all the education for what? You're going to actually end up helping to destroy the environment while enriching the elites. That's the problem here. You've got to look at the money. You've got to look at who makes the money. And the oil companies are making all the money. The wealthy are making all the money by extracting it all from the rest of us. That's why we need a bottom-up progressive movement in order to fight for those things, in order to fight for regular people. So in a lot of the cases, though, again, I think the ignorance is the choice, and I do mock that. And I'm understanding that, look, if you are, like I said, one of those people that, it thinks in these crazy, insane theories, well, then I can't help you. I can't help you. You have facts, but you choose to reject them. That's not who I want to go after. In some cases, though, there's desperation, right? Being crushed by the establishment. And these are the brick throwers, right? These are the people that you can reach. These are the people that Bernie Sanders was talking about. They're not the, ones that are, and I know we tend to lump old Trump supporters or Republicans into one group, that is completely unreachable. The basket of deplorables, right? In reality, there are people that you can reach. And these are the ones who are desperate, who have been left behind. And yes, some of them have been wrongly led into scapegoating their problems to other people, right? And then you get demagogues like Donald Trump coming in and saying, well, no, I know the problem. It's not the corporations. It's not the powerful. No, it's the Mexicans. Those are the ones that are taking your job. You get rid of the Mexicans, you get rid of all these immigrants, whatever, you build a wall, force 11 million people out, well, then you'll have a healthcare and then you'll have a job. That's not true. Not true at all. And so, no, in reality, it is the elites. It is the people with the power that are making a lot of us fight each other. And I'm not making excuses for racism or bigotry. It should be called out. It should be stamped out every time it's seen. But I'm saying that some of the origin of that can be traced back to extreme inequities in our society and that we need to fix. And by the way, those extreme inequities are furthered by people like Rick Wilson and corporate Democrats. And they do so with terrible policies. And so to me, the fact that they are, I think that they're both disdainful of regular working people. Again, I don't know about the third guy on the panel. Yeah, he was making some jokes, but again, even I've done that before, to be 100% fair. But I think the corporate Democrat movement, and definitely the Republican movement, is absolutely disdainful of regular working people. And that's exactly how they feel about them. I don't like it. I think it's kind of ominous when you think about it. I think we should be helping the working class. I think we should be educating people and trying to break people's willful ignorance instead of just mocking them. And so I guess I agree more with Bernie Sanders that we do need to reach out and try to bring people around, because I think more people are receptive to progressive policy than we think. And we need to allow people room to grow and to progress. Again, that's what progressivism was all about. And that's why, you got to call out the elitism. Okay. So now we go from defending people to going after people who are clearly grifting and stupid. Okay. A group of Trump supporters has literally started telling their followers to drink bleach. I'm not kidding here. All right, so now this comes as there are fears of the coronavirus from China. Now, the Daily Beast's Will Sommer is reporting that Jordan Sather, a prominent proponent of QAnon, recently told his followers to stock up on something called the Miracle Mineral Solution, or MMS. He claims that this will cure them if they become infected with coronavirus. Let me give you his quote. Sather told fans in a recent video, quote, "I'm going to have to get home and MMS the whole state, MMS the whole S out of everything." There's another one. Chief Police 2, a top QAnon account with over 18,000 followers, also promoted a video that touted MMS as not only a cure for coronavirus, but also for HIV and autism. Look, in case you're not familiar with MMS, because I just heard of this recently today, right? It is made by mixing sodium chloride with an acid, such as a fruit juice, a lime juice, for example. It's got to be a citrus type of acidic juice, right? Now, when you mix those two, through the magic of chemical reactions, it becomes a bleaching agent called chlorine dioxide. Chlorine dioxide is not good to drink. You should not drink it. Why? Well, because according to the FDA, it could cause both severe vomiting and, quote, acute liver failure. Don't drink bleach. Don't do it. So now let me give you some history on MMS, by the way. Now, it was originally promoted by a website linked to a man named Jim Humble. Now, Jim Humble calls himself an archbishop, right? Who said he found MMS while on a gold mining expedition in South America. Now, what was he doing with MMS? Trying to dissolve rocks? Probably. Said, I don't know. But imagine being the person saying or thinking, what happens if I drink that? Look, to be fair, I doubt Jim Humble drinks it or does anything with it, but other than make a lot of money. Because through a Mexico-based church called the Genesis 2 Church of Health and Healing, MMS is offered for the very low price of $45 a bottle. The church's website claims that it will eliminate coronavirus, other ailments such as diabetes, cancer, and, as I mentioned before, autism. How does drinking bleach get rid of autism? Oh, right, it doesn't. It also doesn't get rid of cancer or diabetes. Well, what it does is that it kills you, or at least it could kill you. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. This is a bunch of garbage. But these people are out here literally telling others to drink bleach. And look, I know that there's like a meme, there's a joke, like, oh, like, you know, gaming community, for example. Like, oh, why don't you go drink bleach, right? There's a whole meme about that. No, but these people are like, no. No, we actually do mean it. Drink bleach, and that will help you get rid of coronavirus. No, this is a right-wing fringe movement in a nutshell. Now, they make people afraid, right? And then sell a miracle snake oil cure. That's what this is. Mike Rothschild, as journalist who tracks the QAnon movement, and I feel sorry for him, told the Daily Beast that QAnon personalities promote MMS in the same way that other right-wing figures sell vitamin supplements. He said, quote, it's lucrative. You can sell this stuff to people and make a mint off of it. I mean, look, if you're selling mega alpha male prostate or whatever crap Alex Jones sells, which is obviously garbage, it just doesn't work. But at least it doesn't kill you. I mean, I think, right? But in this case, this stuff does kill you. In 2009, a woman who took MMS to avoid contracting malaria died almost immediately after swallowing it for the first time. But hey, to be fair, you can't get malaria if you're dead. This is so stupid and so dangerous. For God's sakes, don't drink bleach. Just don't do it. Go to a real doctor. Don't drink bleach. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna take a break. We'll come back. We'll actually do a segment where Fox News has turned on John Bolton. And then we've got AOC. So stay right here. We'll come back right after the break for more show. Super chats, always welcome. Comments as well. We're going to thank some patrons and some members right after this. We'll see you in a minute around the nation.
you're getting nervous, man.
Mike Pounds.
Welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here, TWT Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you. No, I was just paying attention to some of the stuff in the chat while I was getting things together. And yeah, there's a reason I don't play music. I would actually have to go through and choose the music, and it's very time consuming. The breaks are already long enough as it is, and I'm already busy enough trying to set up the rest of the show. So that's why we just kind of leave it silent. Anyway, so that's a little bit of an explanation. All right, so let's go to comments here. These are great. James Watson says, I don't really like people making fun of Trump supporters in that way. Elitists aren't actually smarter than average people. They just have better opportunities. Yes. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. You like nailed it, James. Nailed it. Actus Magus says, to be fair, how many of those people, and it's in reference to the last story, can afford a real doctor? No, that's devastating. That is a devastating point, Actus. I should have brought that up. Oh, man. How much does misinformation, pseudoscience take off in a society where we can't afford, millions of people can't afford healthcare? Look, even people who have insurance can't actually afford to use the insurance. So that is a breeding ground, not only for disease or just diseases of hopelessness, right? Or diseases of despair, I think, is what they technically call it. Same thing, I think. But also for like pseudoscientific misinformation, like anti-vax and apparently drinking bleach. It's crazy. It's crazy. All right. Anyway, Monica G points out I just finished a story that it's not cool to talk to Trump supporters like that. Then talked about a story where Trump supporters drink bleach. I realized the irony here. Very, very, very ironic. But hey, look, the QAnon people, oh no, I'll make fun of them all day because that's not who we're talking about. These QAnon people are crazy and they're willfully ignorant. And so they're, you know what, like targets of opportunity, right? Make fun of them all you want. But it's actually the people that are struggling that I was talking about, people in the working class that wanted to throw a brick into the establishment. And they thought, well, look, Trump's against the establishment, so I guess I'm going to go vote for them because Hillary Clinton's is going to be more the same. They ended up, of course, voting terribly. And I realized that most Trump supporters voted for Donald Trump because they liked the racism and hatred. But again, I go back to what Bernie Sanders was talking about. And this is really kind of the inspiration of like my evolution on the view, on this view. Is like, no. You got to understand that there's desperation going on in this country. And that does get people to be, demagogic and all that, and to believe in these charlatans, whatever. And so we need to take that into account before we write people off. That's why Bernie Sanders went on Fox News. And he had people that are Trump supporters in West Virginia clapping for Medicare for all. And so you got to be careful about who you write off. Right. And there are certainly terrible people, racist, sexist, et cetera, misogynists that, you should. But at the same time, again, there are people that necessarily are not and super, super ill-informed. And so we got to put a stop to that. But if you're telling people to drink bleach, well, then you're a grifter. And that's mainly what these people are. Okay. Anyway. 45 is a chronic liar, says Trump Foundation did shut down under scandal for mishandling nonprofit money and the kids ordered to attend classes on how to actually spend charity money. What sucks is that they, quote unquote, mishandled it, right? If you and I mishandled large amounts of money going into a charity, we'd go to jail. No doubt. But, they're already rich and powerful. And so, they never get jail time. They never see any consequences for their actions. Trump has never seen any consequences for his actions. Okay. So those are great comments, guys. Patrons, I'm going to thank Brian Newton and Rebecca Sinclair. And then we'll go to channel members and thank the Jing Sana and Paul Davidson. So thank you. You can become a patron by going to patreon.com/TYDNation or become a channel member by hitting the join button below. Two different tiers of membership, $4.99 or $1.99 or $2, whatever. Both of those obviously go to help the show. So please sign up if you enjoy watching independent progressive media. All right. Anyway, moving on here. All right. Well, obviously, if you drink bleach, there's no reason to vaccinate. After all, bleach kills 99.9% of all the germs. Yes, and it kills you too. Again, can't get sick if you're dead. Okay, anyway. Moving forward. It's no surprise that Fox News has immediately flipped on John Bolton. They have declared him an unhinged leftist who is basically doing the bidding of the Democratic Party. Now, this follows the release of some of the excerpts of his book where he was concerned about Trump's extortion of Ukraine. Now, let me know that I am not a fan of John Bolton. I massively dislike John Bolton. So to me, this is a bit cathartic, right? I look at this and I'm like, love it. So now let me get into a mashup here of hosts Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, and Lou Dobbs, who decided on their respective shows to go after Trump's former national security advisor, right? Who was a paid Fox News contributor, by the way, for the last 11 years before joining Trump's White House back in 2018. So doesn't exactly have a history as a never Trumper. Nonetheless, let me give you some of their criticisms. Take a look.
The Bolton red herring. The resistance media went gaga when word leaked last night that John Bolton supposedly dropped a bombshell, a leaked secondhand account of his upcoming book.
His major donors are Romney supporters and, well, many of them never Trumpers. John Bolton himself has been reduced to a tool for the radical Dems and the deep state with his allegation.
Think back to 2016 in the campaign then. Donald Trump used to recite a poem about a woman who took a dying snake into her house and nursed it back to health. The snake did become healthy and then immediately whipped around and bit the woman. As she breathed her last breaths, the woman asked the snake, "Why did you do this?" "Well, because I'm a snake," was the reply. "That's what we do." All of which somehow reminds us of disgraced former National Security Advisor John Bolton.
Now they're acting like this is a big bombshell. Bolton's book. Okay, the problem is it's a New York Times story. How often does New York Times get things wrong?
Nothing that John Bolton writes in a book or would testify to, frankly, during the Senate trial changes the basic facts that all 100 senators know.
Bolton's book agency, Javelin, has published books by disgruntled current and former government officials such as, well, former fired FBI Director James Comey, the anonymous Trump administration official who wrote the book A Warning, and Cliff Sims, a former White House staffer who the president said broke a non-disclosure agreement to write a book bashing the White House.
But they shouldn't be shocked. That's who John Bolton is. That's who John Bolton has always been. That's what John Bolton does. And not to brag, we called it long ago.
Hilarious. Oh, that's so good. So good. Now, look, to be fair, Tucker Carlson is about the only one that's been really consistent. In fact, Laura Ingraham says, I like John Bolton. He's part of the show, or he's a great friend of the show. But, I mean, he's a neocon. He never should have been in Donald Trump's cabinet. Well, then why did Donald Trump pick him? It's because Donald Trump wanted to go to war with Venezuela. Guaranteed. If Juan Guaido would have actually succeeded in his coup attempt, Donald Trump would have been all over himself, slobbing it all over himself, to get American oil interests and oil companies into Venezuela. That's why John Bolton was there. Let's be honest about that. But as far as Tucker Carlson, going back to him, again, Bolton has never met a war he didn't like. So now Tucker Carlson is actually anti-war. Now he's anti-war for probably the wrong reasons, right? Mainly because he thinks Middle Easterners or Iraqis, for example, as he said famously before, are basically subhuman monkeys, and Palestinians love to live in their filth. That's what he says. Let's be honest. His reasons for being against the war, which, by the way, being against war is the right position, but he gets there through xenophobia, racism, and hatred. And so whenever we talk about Tucker Carlson, like, oh, he's anti-war, he's part of the anti-war movement. Oh, that's wonderful. We should exalt Mr. Tucker Carlson. No. He gets there in the wrong way. He's a horrible person. He's not a good person at all. And so, at least though, the tiny amount of credit that he gets, at least he's consistent about hating John Bolton. Now, as far as the rest, Lou Dobbs, of course, Lou Dobbs does everything Donald Trump wants him to, does everything he can to kiss Donald Trump's ass. So I'm not surprised that he's going to go and point out the donors and then try to make some weird connection. Oh, look, he's got Romney. He was funded by Robert Mercer. The Mercers also funded Ted Cruz and then turned around later to fund Donald Trump. So come on, dude. Really? All right. But anyway, one more here. This is Dan Bongino, right? He, on Twitter, had a different take. He said, one, regarding Bolton, nobody cares. The aid was delivered. The Ukrainians aren't victims. Just ask them. The Democrats' corruption in Ukraine is real. And 5, nobody cares. Oh, okay. Right. Now, let me break that down. For one, nobody cares, right? No, nobody cares about impeachment. Well, over half of all Americans polled actually want Trump impeached and removed over what he did in Ukraine. Turns out Americans actually do care about the Constitution. Now, as far as the second, the aid was delivered. Well, it was only delivered after Trump was caught by Congress and forced to release it. He also broke the Impoundment Control Act by not informing Congress that he was holding up this money because, well, he had no justification because it was all personal political. The Ukrainians, by the way, just ask them. Well, they're at a massive power imbalance. They're afraid that if they challenge Trump, they weren't going to get any of that promised aid that they needed. They said they needed to keep the Russians from annexing the rest of their country like they did Crimea. So yeah, they're not gonna contradict the no pressure at all. Can we have the money, please? I mean, we kind of need it. Now, as far as the corruption by the Democrats, what corruption? I mean, other than, of course, the normal, we take money from large corporations. Oh, wait, turns out the Republicans also do that. Weird. It's the one corruption they don't actually want to talk about. But no, look, Hunter Biden's corruption, okay, it's real. He got paid $50,000 a month for not knowing anything about gas. That's basically the only good point that you guys can make. That said, is it personal corruption? Absolutely. Is it illegal? Unfortunately not. Because if it was illegal, then every member of Trump's family would also be facing charges on personal corruption. How most of Washington would be wiped out if we're talking about personal corruption and taking money for things that you don't actually have any, know, or trying to get influenced and taking this money by corporations in order to get influence on your father or whatever. Again, all you have to do is look in the White House when it comes to personal corruption. And so, but no. Trump's efforts for his own personal corruption in order to win an election, that doesn't count. Got it. And by the way, did I mention over half of all half of all American voters want Donald Trump removed over this? Look, for somebody who thinks that nobody cares, he seems to care quite a bit. But all Fox News can do, by the way, is talk about how Bolton is a snake. Well, look, I'm not going to argue against that. I don't like John Bolton. Like maybe you could say, well, hey, don't call him a snake because that's unfair to snakes, right? Don't use the name of an animal as an insult. Animals are innocent. Okay. But look, if you're going to go that route, I'm not going to fight against that. I think he is. I despise the man. But I do think it is hilarious how if you dare to question the Donald Trump cult, you become a pariah. It's kind of hilarious. And I'll be honest, it couldn't happen to a better example of a terrible human being. Bolton is one of the most, like, the grossest neocon ghouls to come out of the Reagan administration and to serve in every Republican administration since. His one go-to move is to do one disastrous war after another to start them. So I don't know at all feel bad for this guy. I don't, but I will tell you that as bad as Bolton is, he's actually not as bad as Mike Pompeo. Bolton loves his wars, and we know that. But Bolton, look, the difference is Pompeo believes in insane things, like the rapture. Like, he is a fundamentalist Christian. And I'm saying super dangerous kind of fundamentalist. And he's got power in this administration. And he's making a lot of the rules. So Bolton, as bad as he is actually saying, no, wait a minute here. For one, I don't get a war with Venezuela or North Korea. That sucks. But for two, Donald Trump seems to be breaking the law. Oh, I can't let that go. And so, here we go. I'm just going to put it in the book, which is kind of super weak sauce. But, there it is. All right. Anyway, back to look. If there's a choice between what terrible person I would rather have, Pompeo, or Bolton in the administration, I don't for one, don't make me make that choice. But if you're gonna say who's worse, it's definitely Mike Pompeo. You're not gonna hear that on Fox News, by the way, unless Mike Pompeo admits that Trump attempted to pressure Ukraine. Because as we've seen, this is the Trump. This is the cult of Trump. The Republican Party is now. And one more thing here, going to liberals. If you're watching, right, I'm going to start breaking things. If people start calling John Bolton a member of the resistance, do not rehabilitate him. It was bad enough that they rehabilitated the image of George W. Bush. Do not rehabilitate John Bolton. Swear to God. It would be an absolute disaster. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Okay. All right. One more here. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez recently went after President Trump's plan to deny green cards to poor immigrants. Now, the administration has been looking to tighten a rule allowing the government to deny permanent legal status to immigrants considered to be at risk of becoming a public charge. So now what that means basically is that if you're an immigrant and you're poor, and at some point in your life, they deem you to you might having to need to use public assistance, they could then deny your green card based on that. We think you're going to be poor. We think at some point you might need to use food stamps, so we're just going to deny you entry whatsoever. We'll just stop it right there. So now, the Times reported that this plan would essentially allow the government to withhold green cards for those who use benefits such as food stamps, housing vouchers, and Medicaid in any 12 months within a 36-month period. Now, if you listen to a lot of politicians, which unfortunately I have the displeasure of doing, but a lot of them have this story, right, where they're like, my dad came here with a nickel in his pocket. Oh, my father or my grandfather had nothing when they came on the boat here to America. And then somehow through hard work and grit, they became successful business owners, and then I'm a politician and blah, 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 right? You've all heard that story, right? It happens all the time. They literally call it the American dream. Well, when a lot of immigrants come here, yeah, they are dirt poor. And a lot of them are escaping poverty or just want to do something better because they hear America is the land of opportunity. Sometimes they're refugees like Ilhan Omar, right? And so sometimes they might need some of these benefits to survive. And then later on, when they become established or they start their businesses, they then pay it back through taxes. But now the Trump administration is saying, no, we're not even going to give you the chance. No. America's for rich people. We do not believe in the American dream anymore. We might as well send the Statue of Liberty back to France, those cheese-eating surrender monkeys anyway, right? Look, America, send us your billionaires and we will make them richer. That's the Trump mantra. They're going to replace Statue of Liberty with just a giant golden statue of Donald Trump. Can you imagine? Ugh, gross. Anyway, look, here's the thing. Going back to actual facts here. Fewer than 1% of green card applicants have been disqualified on public charge grounds. 1%. That means most of us, or most of the immigrants coming into the country, are generally considered to, be able to be productive, even if they do at some point in their lives at first need a little bit of a helping hand in order to get established in here in the country. Trump wants to make that much, much higher. So now Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she pushed back against this, which, by the way, I also have to add, the Supreme Court said, oh, no, that's fine. You can do that, right? You can deny people green cards, and permanent resident, legal resident status based on if they're poor or not. So now she says, quote, this is shameful. America shouldn't have a wealth test for admission. It's a place where millions of people are descendants of immigrants who came with nothing and made a life. The American dream isn't a private club with a cover charge. It's the possibility of remaking your future. So, well, look, that's, of course, before Republicans took it over. Trump and the Republicans, they only want the elite here. Now, that generally means that if you're brown or black, well, or come from what he calls an S-hole country, well, then he doesn't want you here because he thinks that you'll never amount to anything. It's deeply racist, grossly stereotypical, but that is Donald Trump's point of view. Now, in reality, of course, we know that a lot of first generation immigrants work incredibly hard to become successful people, and they end up usually creating businesses, creating jobs, and they end up paying taxes, as I said before, unlike, by the way, many of the billionaires here in America. I mean, Trump, for example, deflates his assets in order to avoid taxes. You know what that's called? That's called tax fraud. So you want to talk about criminals? I mean, that's a crime. You also want to talk about the rapists, right? Well, Trump has many sexual assault allegations against him. What about drugs? Well, it's rumored that Trump takes Adderall. That he's got an entire drawer full of Sudafed. That's why he's always constantly sniffing, because he allegedly snorts Adderall. So, wait. He's bringing drugs, he's bringing crime, and he's an alleged rapist. Uh-oh. I'm not going to go further. All right, anyway. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for going around the nation with me. Let me see. No super chats, but please consider becoming a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation, and supporting independent progressive media. We do not have any corporate support. Basically, the only way that we have revenue is through YouTube ads that a lot of you probably skip, and through Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, or the channel member program. Again, no corporate funding. I wouldn't take it if it was offered anyway. And so please support independent progressive media in any way you can. All right. Thank you, guys. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. See you later.
Why? You're getting nervous, man.
Please clap.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.